Chapter 4 World Record for the Worst Day Ever. I know it seems like this was the best suspension day maybe in history, and to be honest, it was. At least at first. I gotta punch that jerk Brandon in the face. I know, not cool, but still. Leave school early and hang out at the track with my new coach, because I was on a team now, who turned out to be a pretty cool dude. Me and coach didn't go no further into my life or nothing like that, which was a good thing because I never really told nobody about my dad. Instead, coach asked me who my favorite basketball player was. LeBron, I said, like it should have been obvious. Who else? Who else? Coach said, surprised. Let me think. Michael Jordan? Jordan? Come on, man. Jordan is like somebody's granddaddy. Jordan don't want to see LeBron on his worst day. LeBron could be sick from a bad batch of cafeteria chicken drummies and still give Jordan the business. Coach stood up. See, that's the problem with you kids. Y'all don't know what a true champ is. Coach, I hate to break it to you, but LeBron is a champ. He got rings, I said, holding up two fingers and wiggling them around. But Jordan has six. Now, Coach held up both his hands, all five fingers spread on his right and just his pointer finger up on his left. He wiggled them like I did. Six. Jordan got six? Whoa. I probably should have known that, but I didn't. Dang, I knew he won a few, but six? Is that the Guinness World Record? The what? Coach asked. The Guinness World Record. Gotta be. I put it in my head to check the book when I got a chance. I don't know, probably. He was the greatest of all time. Coach shot an invisible jump shot, his tongue hanging out his mouth. It looked ridiculous. Clearly, he wasn't a ball player. Then I asked him about that guy I read about who was supposed to be the fastest man alive, Usain Bolt. Coach knew all about him, too. Usain ran a 9.58, Coach said. What's that mean? I asked, because the numbers 9, 5, and 8 mean nothing to me. They're not points or nothing like that. At least I didn't think they were. I actually wasn't even really sure if you could score points in track or not. Just seemed like the kind of sport you just won ribbons and medals or whatever. That was his time for the 100-meter. Coach pointed up the track toward the start line, and he had everybody sprinting from the day before. From there, he moved his hand to the finish line. To there. 9.58 seconds. That boy is lightning. I looked at the distance in my head, counted 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and pictured myself running. 9 seconds seemed like a pretty long time. But that ain't even that fast, I said. Plus, it just didn't seem like 100 meters was all that long. I mean, I had just run it the day before, and what had to be 6 or 7 seconds couldn't have been more than 8. Oh, you don't think so? Coach asked, flashing a sly grin. You think you can beat that? I looked at the distance again. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I don't know, I shrugged. Probably. This was when the best day ever went bad. Coach told me to try to run 100 meters in 9 seconds and 58 milliseconds, Bolt's time. He stood at the finish line with his whistle in his mouth. I rolled up my pants to my knees and my shirt sleeves up to my shoulders, just like I had done the day before. On my whistle, Coach said, holding up the stopwatch. On your mark, get set, and then, beep, I took off down the track, running as fast as I could, legs pumping, arms pumping, heart pumping, until I got to the finish line. Oh, Coach howled excitedly. It felt good. Knew that I had proven my point. I bopped over to Coach with my hand up, ready for the high five, but Coach never lifted his hand. Not even close, he yelped. Not even freaking close. You ran a 12.5. And before I could even respond, he barked, back on the line. I jogged back to the start. Coach blew the whistle and I ran. He blew the whistle and I ran. Again and again and again. Each time I came in a little slower than the last time. My head started swimming, my chest burning, and my legs got all gooey, like all the running was turning my bones to liquid or something. After the 5th try, Coach called out, 14 seconds! 14 seconds? On the track, that might as well be 14 minutes. Are you kidding me? I bent over and planted my hands on my knees. My legs were shaking, but only in the inside, like my muscles were shivering. My heart was pounding as fast as my feet had pounded the track, maybe even faster. My stomach was flipping, and I just knew that my french fries were going to come out as mashed potatoes all over the place. Coach walked over his shadow, making the red track burgundy around me. He leaned in and said lightly, almost as if he were whispering to me, back on the line. That's when I lost it. What? 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 Again? I, I need a break, I panted. I'm tired. Tired? Coach squealed, and I could hear the smile in his voice. I glanced up, and there it was, big and chipped and wide, like whatever words were hiding behind those teeth he was struggling to keep in. So he let them out. You know who's really tired, son? Your principal. Coach put his hands up, palms facing me as if to stop me from even thinking about responding. Then he continued, No. You know who's really, really tired? Your mother. She's so tired, and she's going to be even more exhausted when she hears about your suspension. Come on, Coach, I begged. That's messed up. Come on, nothing, Coach said, like every old black person says when they don't have a good comeback. He grabbed my shoulder and stood me straight. Bending over cuts off your air, he said. We stand straight up at all times, you understand? I nodded, now understanding what was happening. I was being punished after all. This was Coach's way of telling me that I better stop acting up in school. If this was what the consequences of getting sent to Mr. Marshall's office were going to be every time, I'd rather have him just call my mother. Now, Mr. Better Than Bolt, get back on the line. Coach made me do the sprint 2 or 3 more times before finally letting up, and the only reason I think he let me stop was because my sprint had broken down into that weird sloppy trot the tall skinny kid Sonny had done at practice the previous day. My shirt was gone. I'd peeled it off and thrown it on the field just in case the wet cotton was weighing me down or something. My legs had pretty much clocked out, but instead of letting me just sit down and rest, Coach told me to walk it off. Walk it off? I asked, annoyed and confused and almost ready to cry. Yeah, just walk around the track. It'll cool your body down slowly. But I didn't want my body to cool down slowly. I wanted it to cool down immediately. So yeah, at this point, I had pretty much made up my mind that track was the dumbest sport ever. I mean, you gotta move to warm up and move to cool down. Don't make no sense. Cool down should be, I don't know, some juice and an icy or something like that. Not no walk. Once I finished the first lap, Coach told me to take one more, and about halfway around the second lap of me mumbling under my breath about how stupid all this was, I could see the other runners, my new teammates, showing up, dropping their sports bags and water bottles and all of that on the track, some of their parents trailing behind. This is going to be it, Coach said, preaching to everyone as I finally made it back to the other side of the track for the second time. 10 girls, 10 boys. Just so we're clear, this doesn't mean you can't still be cut. It just means you ain't cut yet. Now, I'd like to keep it this way, but that's totally up to you. Got it? Everybody nodded, including a woman with braids who looked too old to be on the team, even though she was dressed in running clothes. I had first noticed her from the other side of the track, and I figured she was somebody's mother, until she didn't sit down with the rest of the corny kids' cheering squad. Coach went on about how this was the 3rd day of practice for the spring season and how he wanted to make sure we all knew each other, or at least make sure all the vets knew the newbies. I was still standing back, sort of outside the circle, as Coach started rattling off everybody's name. On the girls' side for the vets, we have Maisha Cherry, Britt Bratt Williams, Melissa Jordan, Dee Dee Gross, Crystal Speed. Any girl with the last name Speed had to be fast, kind of like any dude with the last name Bolt. Coach continued. Deja Bullock, Lynn Tate, Condra Fulmer, Nikki McNair. He paused and motioned toward the last girl. And our newbie for the girls, Patina. But she told me a few minutes ago that she goes by Patty Jones. Everybody clapped. Patty, I got high hopes for you, young lady. Let's make it happen. Then he started calling out the boys' names. First, the vets. Eric Day, Current Outlaw, Aaron Holmes, Mikey Farrar, Freddie Hayes, Josh J.J. Jerome, and Chris Myers. You boys better look out for our newbies, Lou Richardson, Sonny Lancaster, and this was when Coach turned to me. And as of yesterday, this kid, Ghost. I cut him off before he could even get the "Shaw" out. "Just call me Ghost." Coach gave me a look. Actually, everybody gave me a look. Probably because I didn't have no shirt on and my pants were rolled to my knees, and my belt was yanked so tight that it made the denim bunch around my waist like genie pants. But whatever. "I was going to tell them that, son," Coach said. Then he turned back to the rest of the team. "Lastly, this is your assistant coach, Coach Witt." Coach Witt was the woman with the braids. She also had chubby cheeks, and like I said, she looked too old to be on the team, but she definitely didn't look old enough to be nobody's coach. Then she pulled a whistle from underneath her sweatshirt, so that pretty much meant she was. "Give it up for your squad," Coach told us, slapping his hands together. "This is going to be a great season." Everybody cheered and clapped for maybe 10 seconds before Coach shut it down and told us it was time to get to work. He divided everyone up into whatever their specialty was. Because most of the other kids had been running track for like forever, Coach knew who was a sprinter, who ran the long stuff, who ran all the junk in the middle. As far as the newbies were concerned, Sonny was a long runner and Patty ran the in between. Me and Lou were the sprinters. I never even knew I was a sprinter. So guess what we were doing for practice? Sprinting. And guess who had just finished sprinting and didn't get to take a break? Me. Today is Wednesday, and Mikey, why don't you just inform our newbies about what sprinters do on Wednesdays, Coach said. Mikey was a vet sprinter, a light-skinned kid with braces and a rock face. The kind of guy who you don't really say much to because you just assumed he wouldn't say nothing back. Except for Coach, of course. "Ladders," Mikey grumbled. "That's right," Coach paced back and forth. 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Every time Coach called a number, he slapped his hands together like a cheerleader. Okay, let me explain what Coach was talking about because I didn't have a clue at first either. All those numbers, the 4s and the 3s and all that, yeah, add 100 on the end, and then add meters on the end of that. So 400 meters, 300 meters, 200 meters, and so on. We had to run those down the ladder to 100 and then all the way back up to 4. I didn't think the day that started kind of bad, then got good, then got bad, then got better, then got bad again, could get worse until Coach told me Lou, Mikey, and Aaron, the 4 sprinters on the boys side, to get on the line. 4 words I was already sick and tired of hearing. The whistle blew and, well, Lou, Mikey, and Aaron blew me away. Back on the line this time for the 300. Toasted. Back on the line now, the 200. Roasted. Back on the line for the 100. Dusted. 5-minute break, Coach said. Grab some water. He came over to me and put his hand on my shoulder. I was literally folded in half, trying to catch my breath. My eyes were watering, but I knew better than to cry. I ain't no crybaby, especially not over running. "You all right?" Coach asked. I couldn't get the words out. Every time I tried to speak, the sound was shoved back into my throat by a sharp inhale. So I just nodded. Then Coach squeezed my shoulder and pulled me up so that I was standing straight. "Remember what I told you, stand tall." I put my hands on my head and wove my fingers together. "Now hustle up and get some water," Coach nudged. "You only got 3 minutes." Here's the other thing that I didn't really know about being on a team. There are rules to drinking water. I mean, I guess it might be different on different kinds of teams, but on this team, everybody had their own water bottle that they brought with them. So when I went over to the bench with the other sprinters, I just sat down. Didn't ask nobody for a swig or nothing because, I don't know, it just didn't seem like something I should do. The only feel I had for these guys was that Lou was cocky, Mikey seemed way too serious to share, and Aaron, well, I couldn't get a read on him at all yet, so I figured 3 minutes to catch my breath was just as good as water. It would have to be. "Where's your water, newbie?" Aaron asked, looking down the row. "I forgot it," I replied, the fire in my chest finally cooling down. "Here," Aaron held out his bottle. "Take some, and don't put your mouth on it either." Lou leaned back so I could grab Aaron's bottle. I held it above my head and squeezed the bottle until the water shot through the nozzle like a jet stream, splashing me in the face, some even getting in my nose. Eventually, I hit the target with my mouth, which was when I realized I was wrong. Water was way better than just catching your breath. Way, way better. After I handed the bottle back to Aaron, Lou finally said something. "Yo, "What are you doing here?" he asked, and the way he said it made it seem like the words had been bubbling up inside of him. "What do you mean?" I replied. "I'm doing the same thing you're doing, running." Lou looked at me like I was speaking a different language. "Is that what you call that?" he jabbed. "I mean, yesterday you were big and bad, and today you just bad. Plus, we all had to try out to prove we belong here. And you just walk on our track like you one of us?" Lou was giving me a stink eyed stare, and I was looking to see if Aaron or Mikey agreed with him, but neither of them showed any sign of hate. I got the feeling Mikey never showed any sign of anything, ever. Dude was a blank slate. I tried to keep my cool because I was all the way clear on what the punishment would be if I did something stupid. Plus, he was just talking trash. And it was just a little bit of trash. Wasn't going to do nothing to me. I knew that for sure. Still, I had to ask, "You mad about yesterday? Is this what this is about? Me proving that you ain't all that fast?" Then I had to add, "That you just got a fancy suit trying to front like you Usain Bolt?" Felt good to know that name. It felt good to throw that name out there like I really knew what I was talking about, especially since I had to pretend like I didn't think Lou's gear was the sweetest that I'd ever seen. Especially the shoes. Oh man, those shoes. They were bright green and looked like they were specially made just for him. They had to have been helping him run. "Ain't nobody trying to be Bolt. I'm gonna be better than Bolt. Plus, at least I got on running clothes. You out here in your daddy's gear pretending to be something that you're not." Oh no. I could feel the altercationness creeping up in my chest like a new kind of lightning. The black was turning red again, and I really wasn't trying to be a repeat offender of the bully beatdown. Not in the same day. But Lou was begging for it. "What'd you say about my daddy?" I asked, my head cocked to the side, which is pretty much the universal symbol for watch yourself, homie. "I'm just saying, if you can't afford running gear, at least wear pants that fit. What are those shoes? Psyches? Freebox?" "Chill," Mikey said, flat. That's all he said. Just chill. Aaron followed up. "Yeah, take it out on the track, newbies." Luckily, Coach blew the whistle and called us back to the starting line. I stood up. Lou stood up. We eyeballed each other for a second until Coach barked, "Hustle up." Aaron finally pushed me toward the track, and Lou had no clue how lucky he was. It was time to run back up the ladder, starting with the 100. My adrenaline was still pumping from all the trash Lou was talking. I didn't even do nothing to this dude, and he just felt like he could snap on me. Like I was some chump? Who was he? I thought. What gave him the right to just make fun of me for no reason? Like he was perfect. He's the one God ain't coloring. He's the one who looked weird. Why didn't I at least get him on that? Stupid. But that's okay, because when Coach blew the whistle, I kept up with Lou on the 100. Matter of fact, I might have even beat him. On the 2, I did okay, but it was the 3 where the day got even worse. I was wiped, but there was nothing that was going to make me quit. Not after all that trash talk. Plus, I could tell Lou was tired too. He was panting even harder than I was, and he didn't even have the pre-workout. Coach even had to tell him to stop bending over, which made me feel good to know I wasn't the only one who felt like dying. But when the whistle blew and we started running, what I didn't know was that one of my shoes had come untied. By the time I realized one lace was flapping around, we were halfway through the sprint, and I was still keeping up with Lou. There was nothing that was going to stop me from beating him. So I pushed on. We rounded the bend, Lou leaning into it, which I honestly thought was kind of cool, and then we hit the straightaway. I had my elbows tucked in everything, but my shoestrings. They apparently hated me. I stepped on one, I guess. I mean, who really knows how anyone ever trips over their own shoestrings? They're just strings. How can you trip over a string? I don't know, but I did, and it was bad. Not only did I do the whole slow motion stumble, fall thing, but to make it even worse, yeah, we're in like the negatives worse at this point. My shoes came off. Both! Off! Of course, you know that at that exact moment I slammed into the track. Everybody else, who had all been off working on their specialties, just happened to be looking toward us. "Ooh," was literally what everyone howled. Everyone, even Coach. I lay there on my stomach for a second before finally rolling over and sitting up. "You okay?" Coach said, jogging over. I looked behind me. and Lou was just finishing the sprint and was now staring back down the straightaway. I looked at my hands and knees. They were black and white with track burn. Come on, Coach grabbed me by the arm and helped me up. Walk it off. But walking it off had a whole other meaning for me this time. It meant walking in my dirty, soggy socks down the track to get my sneakers, which might have been more embarrassing than any joke anyone has ever cracked on me. And walking it off also meant walking it off, as in walking it off the track. Just sit this one out, son, Coach said before turning back toward the other sprinters, all yucking it up. Even Mikey, and especially Lou. That's enough laughing on the line, Coach barked, lifting the whistle back to his lips.